Welcome to Inside the Vandals, a weekly show covering men's and women's basketball. Inside the Vandals is brought to you by the School of Journalism and Mass Media and by the Coeur d'Alene Casino, Hotel, Spa, and Resort.
Welcome back to Inside the Vandals, brought to you by the Coeur d'Alene Casino, Hotel, and Resort. I'm Zach Kellogg.
And I'm Braden Kane.
It was a big weekend for Vandal basketball. The women played on the road, but we'll get back to that in a little bit. Braden, the men on Saturday played Northern Arizona here in Cowan Spectrum. How'd it turn out for them?
That's right. The Vandals had a tough game in this one, once again struggling to shoot from the floor in the second half. Our own Jordan Smith with the details on that game.
Thanks, guys. Idaho played host to NAU in tonight's Big Sky matchup right here in Cowan, but would struggle to finish the second half against the Lumberjacks. Well, it was tribal night here in Cowan Spectrum. Idaho looking to come out hot and hit the ground running. The Vandals started off physical, stressing an inside presence offensively, leading to a 47% shooting percentage from the field at half. The Vandals won the turnover and rebounding battles in the first half, but still came into the locker room down 42-35. Idaho would start the second half strong, staying within striking distance of the Lumberjacks before going cold over a 10-minute stretch, where they were outscored 27-16. Northern Arizona would maintain their lead to grab the 86-73 win. Idaho's Jared Rodriguez had 19 points with 4 rebounds, and Northern Arizona's Teddy McCree led all scorers with 24 points. Idaho moves to 1-8 in conference play, and they will have Southern Utah next up on their schedule. For Inside the Vandals, I'm Jordan Smith.
And as I stated earlier, just a rough game for the Vandals this past Saturday night, but they did improve in some areas they wanted to improve in, specifically getting to the free throw line more and getting some more inside shots. I had the chance to sit down with Coach Don Verlin earlier this week to discuss tonight's matchup with Southern Utah. Joined now by head coach Don Verlin. Coach, you got Southern Utah. They lost their first 3 conference games by double digits, and now they've won 4 out of their last 5. I obviously still think it's changed for them since those first 3 games in conference. So what have they been doing well lately as a team?
Well, I think number one is they're getting better. They've had some injuries as well, but they're getting better. They're getting used to playing with each other. And Brandon Betters is playing extremely well this year. He's an explosive guard who can score at all 3 levels. But the thing I'd tell you about Southern Utah is they just begin better by the game.
Mm-hmm. This is going to be kind of a revenge game for you. Last year you lost to them first game of the tournament by 14, an upset win for them. So does this add some significance to the game for you guys?
Well, I don't know if it does or not, because we've got so many new guys, and they've got a different team. Obviously, it does for the coaches, no question about it. That was a hard one to swallow there at the end of the year, because we had played so well at the end of the year, and then not to play well in the quarterfinal game in the conference tournament. But what we're going to really focus in on is this year's Southern Utah team and how our team can get itself in a position to win a basketball game.
So just last question, just keys to the game for you to beat Southern Utah.
Well, number one is always with Southern Utah is you've got to get back in transition. You've got to take away their easy baskets in transition. And then you've got to really know personnel. They've, like you mentioned, I know Northern Arizona's got some scores, but these guys as well have 4 or 5 guys that can score and score at a high level. So we've got to do a good job guarding personnel. And always a key for us this year is rebounding the basketball. We've got to get back to rebounding it like we have for the 10 years I've been here. We've always been an excellent rebounding team. This year we haven't. We've got to get back to executing fundamentally and not allowing teams to get second shots.
Well, Coach, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you for joining us on the show. And up next, we'll take a look at a player who's made a lot of strides from last season coming into this season, post Scott Blakeney.
My name is Scott Blakeney, and this is my second year at the University of Idaho. I'm a true sophomore, and I play the center here at the university.
As you just heard Scott say, he's in his second season on the Vandal basketball team. But if you knew Scott during his first year with the program, there's a good chance you didn't recognize him coming into his sophomore year.
So last year I was about 20 pounds heavier. I was sitting at about 240, and I was a little bit slower, and I just felt like one of the ways that I could really up my game and to get better is to try and lose some weight and get a little bit more athletic and fit.
Scott knew that the process would take a lot of perseverance and determination, not only in the weight room, but in the kitchen as well.
I changed my diet a lot. I just took out a lot of the bad stuff like fast food and stuff. I cut that all out in the summer. A lot of people might not know this about me, but I'm a hunter and a fisherman. So last year I was able to harvest an elk, and so that was a big thing. I really like elk steaks, and I'll throw in some vegetables and stuff like that with them, with some brown rice or some carbs and something like that. And so that was a big thing.
Another major factor that played into Scott's off-season progression was being able to train with the university's professional strength and conditioning coach, Jacob Scharnhorst. An opportunity that makes a huge difference when comparing collegiate athletic training to high school athletic training.
It's a lot different because Jake does a great job. He really narrows down exactly what he thinks that we need to work on to improve in our sport, basketball, versus in high school I had just a class in my high school, a conditioning class, and it was just kind of general conditioning, you know, just the general stuff that you would do to get in better shape. But Jake really narrows it down to what we can do to improve in basketball.
After slimming down coming into his sophomore season, Scott has seen strides in his game in terms of both overall athleticism as well as pure skill on the court.
Just the ability to get up and down the floor for a longer amount of time. I feel like that improved a lot over the last year. And like you said, quickness also. Being able to jump and try and get off the floor a little bit, being able to guard some faster guys at a higher level. I've been working a lot with like Coach Murph with the back to the basket type stuff, and also facing up and trying to drive a little bit both ways. So we've been working on that a lot in practice.
Even with all the successful progress Scott has made in the last year, he continues to maintain that sky is the limit mindset and knows the process is far from over.
Yeah, I really want to get a lot stronger by next year. I definitely want to jump higher by next year and run faster, you know, typical stuff that a basketball player needs to do. Next year I really need to be able to defend a quicker position. I can do that by just getting quicker horizontally, loosening up my hips and working like that. So Jake will get us right in the summer.
For Inside the Vandals, I'm Braden Kane.
When you're in the zone at Coeur d'Alene Casino on February 23rd, everything is going your way. You're one of 40 people winning a share of $10,000 extra play cash or $40,000 cold hard cash. And you're earning entries by playing with your Core Rewards card right now, because $50,000 are waiting in the zone. And you came to win. Only at Coeur d'Alene Casino. See Core Rewards booth for details.
Here you go, hon.
Hello, I'm an Idaho potato farmer. Did you ever notice that the very first bite of every great meal is always the potato? That's why it should always be an Idaho potato. Only genuine Idaho potatoes have the perfect taste and texture to get your meal started right.
Oh.
Hey, look!
It's huge.
Oops, gotta go.
Welcome back to Inside the Vandals, brought to you by the Coeur d'Alene Casino Hotel and Resort. Well, Zach, as you just heard Coach say, we've seen Scott make some big strides from last year coming into this year, had that 12-point game against Portland State. Really awesome to see him improve as a player.
Yeah, at this point in your career, you really have to try and make those strides to get better, and really glad to see he's doing that. Well, the women played on the road against Southern Utah on Saturday. Career night for the Clinker sisters. Taylor Pierce leaving our mark as one of the best shooters in women's basketball. Let's take a look back at that game in Cedar City.
It was another stellar performance for the Idaho women on the road Saturday. The Clinker sisters having a career game, and Taylor Pierce hits her 400th three in the win against Southern Utah. Taylor Pierce becomes only the fourth player in Division I women's basketball to reach 400 career threes in the 82-70 win over the Thunderbirds. Michaela Ferenz, who's eyeing Idaho's all-time scoring top spot, led the team with a quiet 18 points and 5 assists. Pierce scored 17 points, as did Lizzie Clinker, tying her career best as a Vandal. Sister Natalie Clinker followed, collecting her second double-double with 15 points and 14 rebounds. Idaho went 18 of 23 from the free throw line, and half of those came in the second half, where the Vandals shot 90% from the stripe. Pierce came out hot after she connected on her fourth three of the night and 400th of her career to start the third quarter. The Vandals began to pull away from the Thunderbirds for good late in the third. Idaho completes the week with 2 wins on the road, extending their win streak to 4 in conference play. From Inside the Vandals, I'm Delaney Buell.
And what a great run this women's team has been on this win streak. They'll actually be back here in Cowan Spectrum on Thursday and Saturday against Montana State and Montana.
And some major news for an athlete here at the University of Idaho when we come back from break.
For centuries, we, the Coeur d'Alene tribe, have honored our resources as good stewards and our region as good neighbors. We've built a world-class casino resort hotel that supports hundreds of jobs, funds healthcare and other services, and has generated more than $33 million for education. Because we've been an integral part of this land for generations, and we will be for generations to come.
Last year, they played for the conference championship and came so close. This year, they're back and ready to finish. Join Idaho women's basketball on their 2019 journey to a Big Sky title. Don't miss 14 home games, including a challenging 10-game conference schedule. Season tickets start at just $60. Get yours today at govandals.com. 18-19 Vandal women's basketball, ready to finish.
Here you go, hon.
Hello, I'm an Idaho potato farmer. Did you ever notice that the very first bite of every great meal is always the potato? That's why it should always be an Idaho potato. Only genuine Idaho potatoes have the perfect taste and texture to get your meal started right.
Hey, look! It's huge!
Oops, gotta go.
Welcome back to Inside the Vandals. Some major news within the golf program as one of their athletes has received a very prestigious tournament invite. Our own Emily Brunel and Jordan Smith with the story.
Senior golfer Sophie Hosman will be the first Vandal invited to the Augusta Women's Amateurs Tournament in April.
It was great, but the first time I just heard it, there's a women's event, I'm like, okay, how can you get into it? But didn't really put too much on, but then I saw, oh, it goes like top 30 Americans and top 30 international on the world ranking. And I was on a pretty good path that time. I said, okay, you can do it.
I don't know much about the history of how it came to be other than that it was announced by the chairman of Augusta last year during the Masters, and the whole college amateur women's golf world was taken aback and so excited, and it's a big deal for all of the women's programs.
The best amateurs in the world, so the field of 72. Definitely pretty high because it's like the first one. It's the first women's amateurs that plays on the Augusta course. So that's a really big deal, and I'm happy to be part of it.
It's huge for the program. I don't know that I've quite comprehended it all myself. I'm just so proud of Sophie that she, put herself in the position to where she was invited. She deserves it. She's worked extremely hard for it, and I know she's one of the best players in the world, and she deserves to be at this event.
Contrary to the majority of the 72 invitees, Sophie practices half the year in snow and inside the new Vandal Golf Training Center.
I feel like I should treat it as a normal amateur as an amateur tournament, so get ready for it. But on the other hand, it's like you might be on Augusta, so I think some short game is always good to put some extra time in, but other than that, just same.
The University of Idaho alumni base, especially the golf alumni base, they all know who she is, they cheer for her, they're so proud of her. There's already tons of donors that are going to go watch her, so we're extremely excited for her.
What an honor it is to go down to Augusta, even in an amateur tournament, breaking down those barriers, representing Idaho. No prouder feeling than seeing a fellow Vandal representing us.
And as you stated, Zach, whether it's amateur or the professional level, still a very cool opportunity for our athletes to be able to do something like that. That's all the time we have for you guys this week. Up next, Idaho versus Southern Utah right here in Cowan Spectrum. Chris King with the call. For Inside the Vandals, I'm Braden Kane.
And I'm Zach Kellogg.
And we'll see you guys next time.
Pierce with it. Step back three. Oh, goodness. Well, your Lumberjacks finds Rashid inside and blocked by the point guard.